Hello everybody, this is AK. I'm back. So earlier this morning, I published a blog which asked the question, invest in Alibaba or Tesla, or why not both, right? Indeed. So I've said on many occasions that all investments are good investments at the right price. And so someone asked me recently, would I consider investing in Alibaba or Tesla now that their stock prices now are much lower, right? So Alibaba, I think, closed the week at $66.70 per share, while Tesla closed the week at $147 per share, right? And in the last 6 months, Alibaba actually went to a high of more than $80 per share, and Tesla, I think, went to a high of about $250 or so per share. And it has, both of them have seen their prices tumbled to pretty low levels now. So since I've said before that all investments are good investments at the right price, would I be investing in Alibaba or Tesla or both today, right? So it's a good question, right? And but of course, for long-time readers of my blog, it is probably easy to guess my answer. I'll say that Singapore has sufficient opportunities for me, and investing in Singapore suits my purpose, right? And I'm also not a very good candidate, to answer such a question as to whether to invest in Alibaba or Tesla, because I'm at an age where I am less interested in excitement, right? Less interested in excitement, less interested in volatility. I'm more interested in stability, right? Because AK is a young senior, right? Thanks to PMB, who coined the phrase young senior, right? Still, from time to time, the mind forgets the body's age, so AK bought into Hang Seng Tech ETF a few years ago, right? And I blogged about it. I think it was during the pandemic, but I was quite clear that I was trading the ETF, right? Because the ETF didn't pay any dividend. So it was through trading that I made some money. And after a few rounds of trading, I got a bit tired. But I made money from those trades, and I still have a very small position, a smallish position in the ETF, which after making all the capital gains from those few trades, I'm holding this small position at a very low price, right? And I'm quite okay to just continue holding on to as a speculative position, right? Hang Seng Tech ETF, who knows when China's fortunes might reverse, right? Of course, when I hold on to this Hang Seng Tech ETF, I also have an exposure to Alibaba, right? And so from there, to be quite honest, if I must choose which one to invest in, Alibaba or Tesla, I would choose to invest in Alibaba and not Tesla. Why? For reasons very simple. Because from a valuation perspective, or at least conventional valuation perspective, because there are so many ways of valuing companies these days, right? And some people would project far into the future and all that kind of thing. And in my mind, it gets a bit speculative lah, right? But from conventional valuation perspective, which is less speculative in nature, today Alibaba is what I think of as fairly valued, and it might even be slightly undervalued, and some might say it's very undervalued. But it is something that I might consider investing in, Alibaba. Right, from a valuation perspective, it is pretty easy to make a case to invest in Alibaba now, right? But it is the policy risk in China that I'm very wary of, right? So if not for the policy risk in China, I think it's pretty easy to make a case to invest in Alibaba today at less than $70 per share, right? For the longest time, people thought $70 would be the final, floor. It should be the bottom for Alibaba, but yes, that bottom has broken, and it's gone below $70 a share. Um, as for Tesla, I've blogged about it before, about exactly a year ago, I think about there when its stock price plunged, right, a year ago. It plunged 10% in a single day to hit $163 per share. And that was a huge plunge. And at the time, Tesla was trading at a PE ratio of about 45 times after the price plunge. And even after the price plunge, I thought it wasn't a mouth-watering number. I thought it was an eye-watering number. 45 times PE ratio. Right? I thought it was very expensive. And I said that back then that if Tesla was the growth company people said it was, then, well, perhaps a 45 times PE ratio was justifiable. But at a PE ratio of 45 times, Tesla would have to grow its earnings at 45% a year, which would make it fairly valued, because then we will get a PEG, or PE to growth ratio, of 1 times, right? But it wasn't growing at 45% a year, right? In fact, its earnings took a beating. The earnings actually dropped. And to be fair, I also said that if we look at industry peers, right, a PE to growth ratio of 1.5 times might be more reasonable, which would mean that Tesla should be growing at least 30% a year, growing its earnings at 30% a year, which would make the PE ratio of 45 times acceptable. But its earning wasn't even growing at 30% a year. All right, and so at the time I said that if you look at the S&P average PE of about 23 times, I said then a more reasonable price for Tesla, the stock price, would be around $80 a share. $80 a share. So today its share price is at $147 a share, which is even lower than what it was a year ago at $160 plus a share. So it's come down by another $20 per share. Right, and I think this is a sign that Mr. Market could be slowly waking up to the reality of what Tesla actually is. It is more of a car company than what some believers think to be. Right. Of course, people say I'm being myopic, or those who believe in Tesla's future in other areas of the business, and it's not just a car company. You say AK is myopic, and I am myopic. I mean, I wear glasses. Well, and jokes aside, Alibaba might have to face policy risk in China, right? But Tesla has personality risk amongst many other risks, right? And that is the erratic and hubristic Elon Musk, right? It's a personality risk. Yeah, he did so many things that's, seriously boggles the minds. The things that he has done sometimes just boggle the mind. And I remember someone asking him about BYD a few years ago in an interview, and if he was concerned with the competition that BYD was posing. And for those who remember that video, Elon Musk actually sniggered, and then he said, have you seen their cars? He was actually, dissing BYD, right? But now, see who's laughing now, right? So, long and short is, if I have to choose, I think I can probably take a chance on Alibaba, but bearing in mind the policy risk, it'll be a smallish position. But I would still avoid investing in Tesla. But that is hypothetical, if I really have to choose. I would just avoid both. Okay, I don't have to take that kind of risk. Right. So anyway, if AK can laugh to himself, so can you. Bye-bye.